everyone. Very honored to introduce, and I'm not saying this because of this session, a very sharp FMCG leader, which I have interacted in the last 25 odd years. I've known Anuj for the last about three and a half years or so. I worked for almost a year with Anuj on the Fabelle retail rollout project. And this was one particular project which was very close to heart of none other than the late Mr. Y.C. Deveshwar. And I remember, in our multiple discussions that I've met and had with Anuj and his team at ITC Foods, how important Fabelle as a product, as a brand is for ITC. ITC is a mass brand, as you know, from cigarettes to so many other food items. And within the food vertical, Anuj will take us through what are all the products that ITC has got and how Fabelle is a strategic fit. What you see on the background is a Fabelle retail outlet, which are located across all the ITC's prestigious projects, including our own Grand Chola here in Chennai, and of course the Gardenia in Bangalore, the Shonar Bangla in Kolkata, and Maratha in Mumbai, and so on and so forth. So thank you so much, Anuj. Anuj has been in the FMCG industry for about 25 plus years. Now with ITC for close to 4 years, and before that with none other than HUL, Hindustan Lever, the epitome of all FMCG retail. So I'm going to do less of talking today, unlike yesterday where I spoke for 1 hour. So I'm going to just remain mum and very eagerly and keenly looking forward to hear lots of notes on wisdom on luxury retail from Anuj. Anuj, the platform is all yours, and thank you so much for joining us.
So first of all, thanks for having me here. And thanks Shriram for inviting me and ensuring that I am there at such a forum. It's always good as industry people to share the knowledge because collectively we can become better. A lot of what I'm going to share, some of it is what we are doing, and I'm going to obviously take the example of Fabelle as one of the brands, but it is equally applicable to other brands in FMCG because the topic was more on creating experiences, or at least how I interpret it. It is as looking at creating experiences for FMCG brands, right? So parts of it are relevant, and the other parts you need to adapt. And the way I'm going to do is about 40 odd minutes. I'm going to take, maybe a bit less, depend on talking about the presentation which I'll share with you, and then I'll be open for questions or a chat with Shriram, however we make it. So because there's a lot of learning which comes through just asking questions, being curious, and conversation on this, right? I would make a disclaimer on it while Shriram talked about retail. I am no retail expert. I am a brand expert, and therefore what I'm going to talk about it is through a brand experience point of view. Retail in some manner is a place where it took place, and towards the end I will talk a little bit about how in the current scenario we are evolving, right? Because that's quite relevant, and how we are trying to continue the brand journey on it, because most retail points have been shut or at least have got disrupted quite a bit, and the way you are able to give an experience has completely changed, which has both posed challenges, but I think the way we can use it creates new opportunities for a lot of new brands, right? So I'm equally a student. Only advantage is I've had now a couple of years of experimenting with creating experiences and more than 2 decades of creating brands. So that I will leave. Okay, so let's start.
Anuj, but yeah, I mean, there's so much that I have learned from you in all the last 4 years of interaction. I'm very sure you're an experienced student, if that is the case. If you're all still in KG, kindergarten, probably you're a PhD. So I think you're still a student. I agree with that. Over to you, Anuj.
Fine. So anyway, Shriram introduced me, but just a quick intro. I spent 21 years in Unilever. And during that, I've done various stints. My first 5 years were more in manufacturing and R&D. And then after doing an MBA, I started in sales and marketing with doing sales and different marketing roles, both at regional country level and global level. And then I spent a couple of years outside India in London, managing oral care brands and at the premium end in Europe, and then food brand, which is Unilever's largest brand, Nor. It was at that time about 6 billion euro plus kind of a brand. And then I moved back to India with ITC as one of the leaders in the food business. I'm married to Swati. She's a HR director with Amazon. And the proud thing about me is my kids. I have twin boys, 6 years old, who actually keep me a lot busy. And it has been a wonderful last 1.5 years where, in a normal course, I would not have found time as much as I have found in the last 1.5 years to see them grow up and create some good experiences for them and me. Okay. So let's start with the experience and why it is important, right? So this is something, right? You remember the smell when you go to a doctor's place. There's a smell which you hear, and that reminds you of a brand. It was a brand I competed with very heavily across the world. And that, the brand which comes to mind is Dettol, right? And why I put this slide is for us to understand that powerful brand experiences, which are embedded with both emotion and senses, create long-lasting brand memories. And that is why experiences are so powerful on it, right? And most of the brands today actually create experiences. So Apple is another modern brand. We talked about FMCG, but the reason why Apple runs its retail store is to be able to create these experiences, and they take great pride in doing that. As much as they're a high tech, they're actually a great company which designs experiences, not only the user experience of their devices, but the retail experience in which their brand comes alive. And those of you who have traveled abroad or have had the chance to visit an Apple store, it is truly a great experience when you go to an Apple store, and how they have replicated certain common things, but also unique to each of the countries, right? You have great retail brands which are now extending into FMCG, like Starbucks, who also do this very well. So what we are going to talk about in the end are about these points, right? So how do you create brand experiences, right? There you start with three clearly important questions, which is about how experience marketing creates value, right? And what are the problems or the relevance of your brand or your offering in consumers' life? And therefore, it is important to start with the brand purpose, right? Start with why you exist and be extremely genuine about it. Otherwise, you will find a disconnect between what the brand is and what its offering is, and the experience it provides, right? And I'm differentiating between brand experiences and activations, which brands do, right? The second important thing is know your consumer journey, how the consumers are navigating your brand or your offering. Design the experience end to end. A lot of times I have seen, and this was one of the learnings, is that we only think of part of the experience. and we do not think of the whole end-to-end experience. And you will realize that this is why it has been really important for me, is to experience it yourself, be in the consumer's shoes, and see how the brand actually lives, how you interact. It's not only about the purchase or the buy. There's a lot of things which go in uh, before you actually even interact with the brand, right? The people you interact with, the carry bag you give, how your person there speaks, how is your payment experience, what are you giving when the pack goes back home, are they experiencing it there, how is that, and then post consumer purchase experience, right? So experience it yourself. Ensure that you have a clear linkage of experience to product, right? The other bit is, like I talked about activation, same is true for PR, because a lot of FMCG brands actually do some activity, right? One PR stunt, and then that's not creating truly an experiential brand, or creating a consistent experience for the brand. So it's not equal to one-off. But PR events are an important markers. They are like tentpole events on it, which help you build that entire story of your brand. More true for FMCG people. So this was something which, one had to learn. So people in retail, like, you have Shriram, they grow up, but people in FMCG grow up a bit differently, right? And people, especially in large brands, a lot of the brand ethos is centralized. Okay, so even when I was leading, I talked about Nor. Actually, every ad around the world which Nor ran was my responsibility. So I used to clear the brief. I used to clear, and who is the cast, what is the story, what are the testing we need to do, and before it goes on air, even if I was not producing it, even if it was delegated to, let's say, Indonesia. Uh, Compared to that, when you're truly looking at experience, in some manner you have to invert. You might design it, but actually the experience is delivered by your front end, by your digital engagement team, because you have to, as you saw in the Olympics, a lot of movement marketing, etc. happens. Also, consumer service or customer representatives. So they are really delivering your experience, and you have to, yes, you have to train them, you have to set norms, but then you have to empower them to deliver that experience for you, right? Be ready for negative feedback. Again, from a product-centric approach in FMCG, when you go to an experience, you cannot be everything to everybody at all the times, and things will falter, right? So be ready. Design your system knowing that you will get negative feedback. How are you going to handle that? Design that there are people who are not going to be satisfied because our experience expectations are not uniform, and therefore how are you going to respond to that, right? It's very different from selling a packaged good when you start adding experience to the mix. Monitor, measure, feedback, and resolve. This is extremely important for us. And use of digital technology is more relevant, and we'll cover in the end. This was a slide when I started learning experience, to remind myself of what I need to do on that. And the last point has become ever so more relevant, because all what you need to do today, and a lot of new brands are doing, is creating all this virtually. So we are going to talk about Fabelle as an example. And Fabelle is, the essence of Fabelle is creating magical chocolate experiences. Okay, so this was a brand which has experience at its heart, and there are competitive reasons why it comes, which is you will understand from the next slide is, see, most FMCG brands are actually product brands, right? Few of them add service to it. Very few have been successful at it, but few of the brands add service to it. And the highest level of this is experience. And the consumer value actually changes up. As you go up, you do. So you will pay X for a product, right? It's like a detergent, you will pay X, right? If I give you a laundry service, you will pay some 10X of it, right? So that's the kind of a value upgradation which happens with service. When you go to experience, it is much higher, right? It is again a 10X kind of stuff. So consumer value increases with experience, and therefore it provides a great differentiation and value creation opportunity for FMCG brands. So how do we do it at Fabelle? So basically, the essence or how we do it is we call it like a experience the theater of chocolate, right? And this all comes alive at our ITC boutique hotels, which Shriram talked about, the luxury chocolate boutiques, one of which you see in the background. This is from Sonar in Calcutta. But we have created these boutiques, which I call as the temple of Fabelle, where the entire brand comes alive. And what we do is, this is where you experience a theater of chocolate. I had a video which, in this, I'm not playing. If I was presenting virtually, I would have played that. It is available on YouTube, so you can search on Fabelle boutiques and you can see the film around it, right? So this is what you see in the background for me in Sonar. This is at Gardenia, Bangalore, and there's a lot of detailing you do in terms of the equipment, what you can put. There are actually cameras, which is not very, maybe you can see it somewhere here. When the chefs are preparing your dish, you can see it. There's a screen which is not visible. How you can do, you have chocolate creations in the center, which you can actually see and feast and therefore order apart, and you get to interact with the master chocolatier here, and it's a sit down place where you can have it and then pick up and carry box chocolates back, right? And who make this possible and create this experiences are what we call as Fabelle magicians, or these are our master chocolatiers. And we are proud on that these are people who have been, few of them, since the inception of this brand. They are our key asset, which actually help not only create but deliver that experience and keep pushing the boundaries for Fabelle, right? The other bit is, I talked about know your consumer and their journey and moments. So what we do is that we integrate this brand very well. So while we sell, bulk of our sale is in box chocolates, right, which are pre-packaged chocolates. What we do is do these special creations, and we have a calendar of activities of when it is relevant, right from what you see on the left, which is the Easter egg. And we got, again, few of you would have seen the kind of organic post and reach we were able to get on Easter this year with this kind of a creation, right? Similarly, so we do these special creations. I'll come to the biggest festival, at least for gifting, which is Diwali, on that, but we keep a constant calendar. We do these creations which you can both are specially made for that occasion. You can also understand and actually both move the brand forward, but are quite relevant to that occasion, right? So you see the Christmas creations uh, uh, with the uh, bread and the cake. You see holy pralines, which are with thandai and all of that, which are the we call them the chocolate volcanoes, the way they look, and Eid creations. So they are all relevant, and we reimagine some of the festive treats for these occasions. Right. Similarly, while those are coming from a consumer lens point of view, there are other events which are not really sweet eating occasion, which we try and do. So this month you have Independence Day, and this was an example of an activity we did a couple of years back, which was we used the different regions of India, took the local specialities. Then with our master chocolatiers, we created this exquisite creations, which were limited edition packs, and all the sales of this we gave to charity. But this actually was a consumer relevant moment, but not a very chocolate relevant moment. But given our expertise, we were able to create a unique chocolate offering for this, right? The other bit I said about Diwali, and this was something we did 2 years back, which was launch the world's most expensive chocolate. Each box of this is 1 lakh rupees, right? So this is like 4.3 lakh odd rupees a kg kind of a chocolate. We partnered this with Michelin star chef Philippe Conticini, and we reinterpreted, the circle of life, the creator, nurturer, and destroyer, into handcrafted truffles on that. And this had, again, experience has various layers to it, right? So you have an exquisite product. Some of the ingredients into each one of them are really rare ingredients. When we were looking at the creator, how do you bring it alive? So we went to the landmass where, which is first, when the day starts, the first place on planet Earth where the sunrise forms. And there is a rare quantity of cocoa which grows there, and we use that to bring it alive. Then chef also had certain special vanilla uh, plants which are grown in France, which he got for creating, for flavoring. So there is a lot which goes into the product, but the experience we were able to create with the story, with the chef, with the mahogany wood box is bigger than just the pralines inside, right? Uh, and that again goes into creating, building that layer of experience around it on a consumer relevant occasion. Okay. The other bit I will talk about is, so while these are coming from occasion and creating relevance, right? And some of them are tentpole events. There is a constant, and there is a service experience you get when you visit the boutique with the master chocolatiers, when they do and do the creation in front, when you do the tasting, when you buy something, the explanation around it, right? We also have an experience property, which is the master chocolatier, Fabelle master chocolatier, or Società di Chocolat. And this is about creating an immersive brand experience as a property. And the purpose of this is to discover, let consumers discover chocolate, to talk about the bean to bar, then get about, how do you identify good chocolates, how do you use your senses to educate about different types of chocolate. There are now 4 types of chocolate: dark, milk, white, and ruby, which we incidentally also were the first ones to introduce in India. And then you get to do yourself a little bit of chocolate making, and then in an advanced session we create some desserts and for novices, you have as you like it cup. So I'm going to talk about this property which we have, right? So this is a chocolate appreciation platform that allows luxury aficionados to completely immerse in the world of Fabelle chocolates, right? And this brings about all facets of the Fabelle story. So while we take you through a normal chocolate processing, in each we embed what makes Fabelle special, right? So the way we actually the one of the things why Fabelle is so good is because we actually conch it to a much smaller particle size than commercially available chocolate, and that gives you a much smoother mouth feel. Much so that while I'm talking about how chocolate is made, at each place we also showcase what makes Fabelle special, and we have the story embedded. And then there is a what we call as creating a magical experience with chocolate. So yes, a good chocolate is replicable, but what we uniquely do is to able to have an alchemy of chocolate. So even in our box chocolate, apart from the single origin, there is no plain chocolate we have. All of them are providing multi-sensorial, multi-textural experience. Okay. And that is what you go through. Okay. And we actually create this. So we do some events one time when we launch new things, which you can see on the left hand side of that, and they are meant to be PR events. And then we do regular classes when it was allowed. We do this for corporates, which you can see in the bottom places. So you can come as a group, experience, and we do individual batches. So people can enroll and come on it. In 2019, we actually started an SDC for kids on that, where a bunch of kids can come and we take them through the same education, but a slightly different chocolate making experience than compared to adults who really want to understand and start, the photograph you see is the person tempering it, and then you make some desserts out of it. Kids, you do just cups and some, pre-bakery stuff kind of. Okay. So this is about creating media experiences and physical experiences. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about all this is fine. How is it relevant today? As even I am delivering this, it seems like, oh, this is the world gone by, right? But this is integral to what makes Fabelle special, what differentiates Fabelle. Because when I come like this, can you imagine this being offered by our key competitor, Mondelez? No, because not only do they don't have the capability, that's not how the brand is constructed, right? And it will fundamentally change their business if they were supposed to do this, right? Uh, so this was important, and what happened in pandemic was people were not coming to the boutique. You can't have any such event. So what do you do? So what we have done is actually created how do you create this and make it even better? So this is something we were supposed to launch a couple of months back, but wave 2 was really bad, so we deferred it, and we are just launching it now. Is to create a what I call as virtualization of the boutique experience, right? So what we do is you set up, you almost see, okay, how can I provide the same experience at home and through virtually, right? So you still have the master chocolatier who delivers this from the boutique, right? We send you a kit at home, which you can see there, which is all about different types of chocolate. So as you go through, you have props, right? We send you a recipe and a knowledge booklet, so you know about the bean to bar story, how does it happen, and there are certain recipes you can make at home. Then the master chocolatier actually delivers. So you use a platform like this on Zoom. You interact with the audience. She uses both audio, visual, and live action to actually do it, right? So these are the elements. You use presentation for visual understanding. You have culinary demonstration, so you can see live the chef actually making the dish or doing the step of chocolate preparation. And then because you have the tasting kit, we are able to actually bring that experience to you. Okay, hey, this is how dark chocolate tastes like. This is how ruby tastes like. This is how 64 tastes like. This is how Ghana versus Madagascar versus Colombian chocolate tastes like, right? This is what happens when you layer chocolate with other ingredients. Okay, so those are the kind of pralines or which are there in the box, and you go through the session on that, right? Then the other bit, so this was one part of the experience, right? How do I replicate the experience of you going there, talking to the chef and buying it, right? So we did a couple of experimentation, including live shopping, and we found that actually for chocolate, it was not working. There are brands which have done very well. Tanishq has done very well. Kama Ayurveda has tried something on that. So we also tried, but we found very few. So those who were wanting to do for gifting were keen to do a live video shopping, but a lot of other people actually said, hey, it is a little more impulse, so I don't want to do a video call and then buy it. If I'm buying in bulk and I want to understand, then it makes sense. So what we did was we actually virtualized this. So we are working with this company called Swirl. Now Instagram will be the best platform, but they have not opened video based or live shopping this kind of the toolkit in India. They are still at other places, and we don't know when they will be live. You see this a lot in China on that. So we are partnering with this company called Swirl, and what they do is that you basically virtualize your store, and then on each you can actually customize a video, and that can be changed. So you have on this, when you click it, you have the master chocolatier actually talking through about that product, telling you what that product is, what is special about that, almost trying to come close to your real shopping experience in this. And it is important for Fabelle, both from differentiation, and these are higher value, right? You're buying these boxes for 1,000, 2,000 rupees on that. So each one of them, we are able to convert into this. And if you have a question, you can then, and you want a live session, then you can put, and then we'll connect. But for 90% in the pilot we did, for more than 90%, this was good enough and gives us very high conversion rate compared to a normal e-com. It's not that we are not available, but this converts much better for us, right? So that was all I wanted to share. I'll just recap the important points, and then we can just move to a chat, right? So be very clear why you want to do it and how does it create value, right? Every brand need not do this. When you do this, start with your brand purpose and start with why are you relevant in consumer's life. Know your consumer journey, design the experience end to end, not parts of it. Complete end to end consumer in the consumer journey. You need to design the experience. As leaders, as entrepreneurs, as owners of your brand, experience it yourself. You are a consumer, you will be the best judge to understand how integrated the experiences, where are the flaws in the experience, right? Clear linkage of experience to product. This is not one-off, right? Consumer brand experience is not a PR, not an activation, but they are important parts. The whole is greater than the sum of parts, right? Empower your front end and your digital engagement teams. Be ready for negative feedback. Monitor, measure feedback and resolve. And digital experiences now is now going to be, for a lot of brands, going to be core. So a lot of new brands actually start now everything in digital, and then they are going omni-channel. We started from retail and then going into digital, but the end space is that it is an omni-channel world, with digital becoming more and more important, and technology keeping pace, bandwidth keeping pace. So your ability to create experiences and more and curate experiences on digital, more than just e-com platform or more than just social media, is really getting powered up, right? So use that, be at the forefront of that. So I think that's all I wanted to share with you. I'll stop sharing, and I'm open to any questions and discussion on the floor as you want to take it forward.
Thank you so much, Anuj. Again, 45 minutes of something absolutely new that I learned from you. Thanks for your time. I have 3-4 questions which I've written, which I will share my thoughts with you and take your views as well, and then we'll open up. We're already seeing some questions on the chat box, so audience, keep coming with your questions, and then of course Anuj is here to answer us a few of them. Before we move into ITC and Fabelle, Anuj, you mentioned about that you are the global brand manager, brand head for North Soups. So within that portfolio, I want to ask you 2 questions. In India, how challenging was it to sell soup as a category? For most Indians, soup is a delicacy which we consume in a restaurant. It either comes in a cup, it could be a stainless steel cup in a very mediocre restaurant. In a 5-star hotel, it comes with a lot of garnishing. It could be a mulligatawny soup, or it could be a very simple soup which is made to look very big. But here where one packet of Knorr soup for $10, if I remember right, that was launch price. You mix it with hot water, and then you had some fantastic, reasonably comparable to an external quality and the whole thing. How challenging was it for you to sell Knorr soups, rather soups in India? One. On the other hand, in Europe and US, where the soup culture is very different, where they have soup and salad for dinner. Yahan pe, we do it before dinner. So it's like going to the doctor, and doc says, please have fruits for a few days for dinner. And you ask the doctor, is it before or after food?
Yeah.
No. Fruits is your dinner. So, but in Europe and US, people, they have soup and salad for dinner. And most of it is homemade, right? Because they have the equipment to make various kinds of soups and salads. So how challenging was it for you to, as a brand head, to sell the same category, same product, and same brand in multiple markets?
Yeah. So first of all, India was never a strong market for Knorr, right? So India business was quite negligible. So I didn't have to so much bother, because I'm a believer in core, right? And core brands, core markets actually is the sell which. So it's like, if you take care of the mother, she will take care of the children. So, as running a big brand is always about knowing where the mother is, mother brand sits, mother market sit. And if you take care of them, if you can unlock growth there, then all the other markets don't matter, right? With that caveat, yes, you are indeed right that there is a challenge in India. And the challenge comes because the soup while awareness is very high, right? Unlike in, let's say, personal care, food there are in India 4 meal occasions, typically, if not more, right? And more people, or a lot of people say there are 5 meal occasions in India, and the penetration from an occasion point of view is hardly anybody. So soup would have penetrated every household, but it would have very low occasion penetration, and therefore it's a market development job, right? There was some good work done long back, and that was the work I think in India they should have continued. But these are long haul, right? One of the brands which has done, we have all grown up with, is Maggi, right? Which was a competitor, because it was not native. So how many years it took? And yes, there is an uncertainty. Kellogg, on the other hand, has not been able to do it to that extent, right? But Maggie was able to do it because they put a clear consumer problem occasion to solve. So, for the 7 o'clock hunger or a 4 o'clock hunger, soup was tried to market. But then, they were not consistent with it over a period of time. Second, you have a problem of it's a hot dish, right? And large parts of India, uh, you are not wanting to have hot, you are wanting to have cold, and that did not work. So there are challenges in India, and the problem is not about you can't solve it. The problem is it's a market development problem, and that requires consistency, very strong consumer relevance, because you can spend money, and if you're not relevant, if you're not solving a genuine consumer problem, then you won't go. So that was the bigger challenge rather than the price or where you should have it. I think and therefore in food, whenever you are in ingredients, while you do that, I think it is important, which was my big learning in food, is uh, look at occasion and dish penetration, right? Because you don't eat, see, if I buy a shampoo, I'll use the same shampoo for the what. But if you don't eat the same thing, right? You will repeat it after a week or something, right? So your repetition of the same, if I'm having a dal, or apart from some, accompaniments or sambar or something like that, and rice and chapati, which are very high. For a lot of other things, it is like 1 in 21 occasions, if you're optimistic, right? So you have to have that mindset. First, if you're launching something, in how many occasions can I be relevant? Can I improve my penetration in that many occasions? If you are an ingredient company, or pointing one of your key growth is how many meal occasions can I be a part of? And that is where you start growing food brands, which is a bit different than other other brands, but this is unique, and that makes food far more interesting than the almost 2 decades I spent in personal care or laundry. Let me put it that way.
Super. Very well explained. And you spoke about core, and I can't but smile that, from a lifer who has come from Unilever, you only speak about core, right? I mean, it's a typical Pareto 80-20, and then you focus and chase only on the mother, and then the kids thrive thereafter. So very
I would actually, sorry for interrupting, but I don't think even in Unilever, many people understand that, right? Yeah. Because see, organizations, while as an organization, it is very important. And there was a realization. All of us, there is a desire to launch a new brand, a new variant, a new thing, right? And I realized there were very few people who truly understood managing the core. How do you revive the core? Because the brand before that, which all of us in India will, Knorr is not very big, so you don't know the history of Knorr. All right, but the other brand we know quite a lot which I managed, was Lifebuoy. It's a 130-year-old brand, right? It was one of the first global brands, and because Britishers took it everywhere they went, right? How do you revive that brand? How do you grow that brand? You would say, "Yaar, this 100-year-old, well, it's the same, largely the same thing." So yes, there are innovations, etc. How do you do that? There's nothing so-called innovative you can do. It's a soap which all of us have grown, and you say you still have to grow it. So a lot of marketeers and business leaders find it extremely challenging. Yet when you are able to do it, the kind of economic value it is able to create, nothing else can do, right? So there are periods of all these brands where they have been championed by people who are able to do that. And there is, some method to the madness on how do you do it, but it's not easy. Growing and thinking of a new idea and growing that, and the jazz we all think, कि मैंने ये नया किया, like, how many people will say कि yeah, Life Boy is, you were in Chaddies when that brand was there also, right? So what did you bring compared to when I show Fabelle, right? It almost seems like I've birthed it and doing that. So I think that's a challenge, but for all business leaders, all entrepreneurs, they have to, while there will be a period of doing new, your key value SKUs or your core brands and propositions, the moment you are able to grow them, the economic value you will create is tremendous. And that's the difficult part, which we miss.
So my next question is on the negative feedback that you mentioned about. Have large ears like Ganesha and absorb as much of negative as we can. But in the digital world, Anuj, where it's so easy to mar a brand. I mean, last week many brands wished some of the Olympic winners, and then here we have this agency. Incidentally, I know them personally as well, but they went and they threatened. That's it. We're going to file cases again. So negative feedback, it's there, and in the digital world, all the more it's there. So on Fabelle's Facebook page or probably on Conversation, I'm sure you must be getting not backlash, but ki yaar, why will I pay so much for a chocolate? ये तो Cadbury में 10 रुपए मिलता है, क्या फर्क पड़ता है? Things like that. So I think, what I want to ask you was, one is responding to the consumer, but how do you keep your flock together, your brand managers, your team? I'm sure they will get bogged down by these negative riffraffs. How do you handle that part? Of course, with your team first, and then with the consumer, in the umbrella under the brand as well, because you don't want people to read negative reviews, right? So tell us how you handle that.
No, so first, there are two. This question is a bit loaded, so I'll break it into parts. One is, when you get a negative feedback, what do you do with it? And should you respond, and how do you treat it? I think look at negative feedback as a tip of the iceberg, and you have to treat like that, because while you see increasing tendency to be trigger happy, for every complaint or feedback you get, it's a small percentage of the actual problem. So you need to be absolutely listening to that and responding to that. And this is where leadership comes in. So all the complaints, all the various forms, and now it is more complicated. Earlier it was simpler, right? You have to monitor social media. There is and all channels, because somebody who's unhappy will go in 5 channels and respond. So, or they will call. All that on a daily basis even comes to me, even comes to my boss, right? And we look at it. So I make it a point that I read, however busy I am, I glance through it. And that tells everybody in my team this is important.
Nice.
It also tells me really in the chain, where are we going wrong?
Sure.
So that is one part of it. And so therefore take it seriously. And then if you are right about it, we have also got great responses when we have rectified. And that makes it worthwhile. So that's part number one. The second bit which you talked about is reputation management in the social media. Now that's really, really important. There is again, you have to be absolutely clear on it. The bigger problem now is not that it was a genuine issue. The bigger problem is that some of our brands have actually suffered. Our biggest brand in ITC had suffered a couple of years back, almost like fake news. And that keeps happening. So that intensity has gone up. Somebody will take a milk pouch and say, "Isme plastic hai." Somebody will say, "Aata ye hai, isme ye hua." and you have to nib it in the bud, right? And the law is your friend here. So first, social listening and all the bits is important. You then classify hot, cold, etc. You take immediate action if it is unverified against that. Get them down, get a court order. You have to therefore send it to the platforms to get it down on of it. If it is something which has caught fire, then you have to take proactive action with experts, with whatever works for your brand and the issue at hand, and respond to it, because you cannot let these issues fester, right? And I think therefore the brand owners today have, compared to us where everything was slow and you had one medium, now you have to have both tools, capability, but also a mindset to do it, right? The best brands, and this is negative feedback you talked about, but even on consumer responsiveness, if you have to build a following, there's a clear correlation between the time you take to respond, right, to a fan post, etc., to how many followers you have. So you need to enable your team, and therefore again empowerment comes in. Guidelines, you put the guidelines in place, but you empower, you have an escalation mechanism, and quick response is really important. So I think you have to segregate the how do you listen to feedback which is genuine, how do you sort genuine versus non-genuine, reputation management, but also positive reinforcement, because that's where your brands get built up also.
Super. I don't know whether you skip this consciously or otherwise, but I thought I should ask you on this one.
Yes.
So you, I mean, to the audience here, it was Anuj's baby that he took Fabelle from outside the luxury collection, from the star hotels, and he democratized it, if that is the right word to use, Anuj. And now there are, I don't know the exact current number, but there are already a number of these kiosks which are at popular malls and airports and whatnot. And I have seen Anuj come up with this idea 4 years back, and then now it is up to on to execution. So tell us, Anuj, from a 5-star hotel to a mall. In a 5-star hotel, in the Fabelle boutique, probably 10 people walk in every day, whereas at this one, which is at the Mantri Mall in Bangalore, maybe in the so-called pre-COVID era, there were about 20,000 people on a weekday and 50-60,000 people on a weekend. My question is, how did you maintain or manage to maintain the same customer experience? Because the atmosphere is different. The customer may be the same, maybe not, but yeah.
Yeah. So for all the audience, this is where experts like Shriram helped us. That was where I had reached out to him to help us, work on this. So as you know, we didn't get this right first time. Okay, so we had opened in Quest, we had opened in Select City Mall, and they were not working out. Right, we tried to replicate the boutique experience in a mall, and we were a complete disaster, because we were, you can see the background, right? It is spacious, gold, that much gold in that space works. If you compress it in a small, it will look very tacky. The environment in which you operate in works very differently in terms of the dust, just the dust, like in Delhi when we opened up, even though it's one of the premium malls in Select City, we realize it is very dusty, right? And on gold or brown, the level of dust which accumulates is very different, and it became claustrophobic, because the design of a larger outlet, you actually replicate in a smaller place. It does not make sense. So we had to go through our learning journey where we made this like an open architecture. So we had to adapt. We didn't copy exactly, right? We had to be very clear on what are the elements we will take outside. even the menu items changed. So when we had started, we said, okay, we'll do creation there, and we realized, that's not working out, because either I have a boutique, you can create a larger outlet, which we may do but that will need to be 800,000 feet. That has its own business economics of doing that, which will be a sit down place, a chocolatier. Today, that is one thing which differentiates us. But that I have access to because I'm part of an ITC hotels network. The moment I go outside, having such, talented people on there, I will have to develop that capability. Today, it's an institutional strength. Fabelle team does not know how to 100%, keep these master chocolatiers, because you have to then manage their career aspirations, their pay. They have a peer group. Just imagine me having just 5 chefs. How will it look like with sales and a marketing person with that guy versus an hotel. The people who manage hotels who have grown with this, they have senior chefs of international. So we had to adapt even our product offering, our service offering, and that made us choose 2 things: what we will keep and what we are ready to sacrifice, right? So each of these people actually go through the boutique as a training program, right? So that they are, as I said, your front line is your experience. I can create whatever you want. That's a one-time cost. So that is important. Second, adaptability becomes really important in such a setup, because the hotel is a controlled setup. They are my properties. Here, this is not, each mall is different. Each design will be slightly different. So it's a new capability one will have to develop. We are not a retail brand, right? In the true sense of the word, like let's say a Starbucks, because they are open so many. We were starting out. So a lot of, yes, we leveraged expertise of people like you, but we had to learn a lot and design the offering. Unfortunately, we were not able to roll this out because of the pandemic. That last 2 years have been completely awash. So we have put this on hold and then done. The beauty of it is there are other models which have evolved, right? So we are doing, now there is an ITC MasterChef Cloud Kitchen, and we are part of that. So we are working on that model as well to see. I don't know where it will go, but it is worth experimenting and learning.
Super. Thanks for that insight, Anuj. I have a couple of questions from the audience, and obviously the most dreaded or the most favorite word today is D2C, direct to consumer. And I think you have done this once again very well. For those who haven't probably followed Fabelle's Facebook page, you can now order Fabelle chocolates through their website, through Facebook. And way back in 2018-19, Anuj is already working out on models how these could be sold through the Swiggies and the Zomatos. Maybe, Anuj, I think at that time the market was not conducive. And also internally, I think the buy-in was very less. Because on one extreme, you had the chefs who said it has to be sold only in a controlled environment. And then there was the retail team. But tell us about your D2C experience. You've now democratized it by just with a few clicks, I can order some luxury chocolate.
Yeah.
And also tell us a few words about where you see the D2C market headed for multiple categories. And of course, the ITC store, I think, which is now about 16 cities is what I read most recently, where ITC store now delivers all the ITC goods. So
I think D2C is not only a hot topic. I think it's a material disruption or a discontinuity, or for those who want to believe in business, right? And I think everybody has to examine that and take that seriously. Okay. Now, why is it important? Whether you do it or not do it, right? If imagine I did not create Fabelle, I was selling Lifebuoy, let's say, or something else, right? Let's take North Soup, and it was a big brand. And if you look at it, the threat will come from D2C and experience brands. If I was a big soup brand, fresh soup delivered to your home, prepared and delivered, is your competitor, right? A lot of people who will do clean label farm to this with complete traceability and just selling it to you is your competitor, right? So you can decide to be in it or not be in it, but you have to be aware of it. Okay. So our journey on actually recently I did a presentation on D2C for people, and a lot of people said we were D2C before D2C became famous, because any place where you control the complete consumer experience is D2C. Okay, now you have digital D2C in some manner, but most of the retails are D2C, right? So this has been a fascinating journey, and I think for all new brands, new businesses, or new ideas on existing brands, it's important to first start, because the way these platforms have developed, a lot of the entry barriers have got decimated, which were there existing earlier. And some of the advantages D2C puts, even for retail brands like yours as well, is that it can leapfrog some of the expensive cost of scaling up brands, right? So you don't have to be really having so many retail stores, or the retail stores need not be fully equipped. They can be configured very differently. So that's the advantage of D2C. There are few things you need to keep in mind. First, you need to keep in mind your average order value, right? A lot of people, like, I can create a D2C brand, and I'm distinguishing between digital brands or digital channels, like say if I'm available on Amazon, versus a direct to consumer brand, because that can be part of it, but direct to consumer also is a direct pipe, right? Which means if I have to deliver an order value, there is an economics of it. If you do not get your economics right, and a rule of thumb is that your cost of delivery should be equal to ideally the channel margins you collectively pay. If you are able to do that, it's a viable business proposition. The second big thing you have to keep in mind is your LTV greater than CAC significantly, right? The customer acquisition cost, even for very well-known D2C brands today, is give out 800 to 1,000 bucks. Okay. Now, if you have to ever hope of making money, your LTV has to be significant. So if you take customer acquisition cost of 1,000 by your margin, right, will be your revenue realization. The way people calculate LTV is typically at MRP. So you have a MRP to your realization, which is 60-65%. So just imagine that for a 1,000 rupee CAC, right? Even if I am a 50% margin player, my MRP will need to be close to 3,000 rupees. So is your business able to generate that? Otherwise, yes, when it is hot, you will get, and there's a bigger fool theory that somebody else will buy and you can do Excel exercise, but you won't make money ever. Okay, so that's the key thing. For me, when I distilled on D2C, when we do all of that, our AOVs are 1,000 bucks, right? Or give or take, not the exact number, but right. And you have a high retention rate. So my LTV is higher. So now you can understand my delivery cost in a city through, let's say, ITC store is 60 rupees per pack. Okay, thereabouts. Therefore, how does the economic work? So for me, it works. Well, unless I create a basket of other ITC product, it won't work. I won't send a bingo chips ever. So there is an or you will charge delivery, which dissuades. So these are the things you have to consider, but definitely a great channel. There are other capabilities you have to do, right? You have to begin bottom funnel, then top funnel. Most conventional FMCG begin top. We are very good at acha ad banaya hai, with great emotional value, celeb. But those bring top funnel. But when I talked about LTV to CAC, a lot of, at each click, you have like 1%, right? So if your bottom funnel actions are not right, you will never make money. You can create a great brand, but your bottom funnel has to be absolutely clear. So most D2C brands first get their bottom funnel right and then move up to top funnel. That also ensures a great product market fit, customer satisfaction. They invest a lot in retention marketing, these are new skills for most FMCG people, but native to some of the D2C brands. So these are the three things I will say, D2C brands need to keep in mind. AOV, LTV significantly greater than CAC, begin with bottom funnel, then do top funnel activity.
Super, I think you've nailed it. And obviously, your experience of handling these brands and actually doing it firsthand, I think it's all the wisdom is coming out very well. So thanks for that clarification. I'm going to take one last question. There are two questions from the same attendee, but I'm going to answer myself for the first question, where the question is, by restricting to a niche market, are you losing out on a larger market? Of course, yes, because you're niche. And when you're focusing on a niche, you obviously sell. It's like a Mercedes or a BMW. Yes, you're only catering to the 0.01% of the population. You're leaving out 99.9%. But that's by choice. So I'm answering that at a category level. But the other question, very interestingly, is you showed us about 6 or 8 packs which you've made for Independence Day. You've created some of these exotic festival-led variants. There was something for Holi, there was something for Easter. So the query here from one of the attendees is, how do you find out what should you do for what? I know personally you've been very gung-ho about Holi because I think as a festival, it's very big in terms of gifting, and expensive gifting obviously is very big pan-India. But say the current independence campaign, how did you choose these 6 parts or 8 parts of the country?
Yeah. So just to tell about the first question, see, the people confuse between what is a niche versus, if you're going to a premium audience, what is also, stages of evolution of a brand, right? And there are important questions on Fabelle, but maybe I don't need to answer all of them in the journey. But if I imagine a 40-50 year journey of this brand, or even a 20-year journey, will this be all what we will do? No, we will do more, right? The other bit, just to give you a measure, like it seems niche, just 3, when the travel was allowed, just 3 duty-free airports in India do 450 crores of chocolates. Okay. So when you talk about niche, just let's be clear, yes, it's a small of the overall chocolate, but it's not like, okay, I'm doing some 20-30 crore kind of a business. I'm talking 3 duty-free airports, right? Now you start adding, and the opportunity of it is quite high. Okay. And we will stretch like we stretched up. Is that 1 lakh rupee chocolate? I sold in the first year just 7 boxes of that, but it was meant for a purpose, right? To put ourselves on the world map. I generated PR value more than 20 crores on that activity, right? So, that's the first bit. Right, I forgot, Shriram, your second question, just if you can remind me.
Second question is, how do you identify these?
Yeah, these events, right? So,
yeah.
So I think there is a little bit of science, and over time it becomes team's capability, right? So first, you see there are, if I were to be mathematical about it, you will see consumer relevance occasions and your brand can play in that. Right? Can I play in Olympics? It's a consumer relevant, but I'll say no. Yeah. So gifting occasions fit nicely for me. Now, based on your brand, it will come, right? So celebratory and gifting occasions actually fit very nice with me. More gifting. So it is celebratory and gifting. Diwali, Raksha Bandhan, Valentine's Day fit nicely with me. The remaining fit less. That's why I put on first one chart and then I put Independence Day, right? Why I put Independence Day is a little bit more personal to Fabelle. And the reason for that is globally, chocolate is dominated by 5 players. They're all global players. One of the reason and ethos of ITC is to build world-class Indian brands. Okay. So I am uniquely placed on leveraging my roots of India. I'm proudly an Indian brand, but best in the world. Okay. So for me, it made sense to leverage Independence Day because I feel very proud of being an Indian brand. Okay. And then you select, see, we get a lot of ideas, right? And at every time you get ideas, let's do this. But you have to draw a very small network on how is that occasion or whatever you are doing relevant to your brand and product truth. So I could do Independence Day and just say, for hero something, and right. I chose on saying I want to establish my chocolate expertise that only I can do, nobody else can do. And therefore that comes from ingredients, and I will create chocolates which represent the reason, but each one of them are quite exquisite. They are not like you just take something and mix it, right? So when you consume it, when you experience it, not only you are doing, it's a consumer relevant independence point, but you are thinking, hey, Fabelle can do this. How great this is. So expertise goes up in the mind, right? So that you have to do on day 0 of thinking of the activity. People don't have that, expertise, and a lot of agencies or partners don't have. They will take anything and say, yeah, let's do something about it, but it will not come back to your brand. So you will spend money, you will get something, but you won't know how to do it with the brand. So that's an important, and over time the team develops, right? The people working with you develop. We also learn. We did some false start. It's not that in a presentation I can show everything neat. It's not that we did everything neat. Okay, so we make mistake, then we realize no, this works better for me, right, than another activity we did previous to this. And Independence Day, just a chocolate installation of great things, got some PR, made it popular, but I did not know, I'd got some artists who made sculptures out of chocolate, and say, like, why is Fabelle doing it? Anybody else can do it. So we were not neat initially, but now we are doing it. And if you apply this principle, ask this question, you are more likely to be right than wrong, is all I would say. So
Super. Thanks so much, Anuj. It's been a wonderful 1 hour of, so much of information coming from the world of FMCG, ITC, and Fabelle. So we have a few more questions, but I think in the interest of time and not to hold you much more, thank you so much for joining us. And